go through Virabhadrasana, so the warrior poses. So Virabhadrasana 1, 2, 3, and we'll also do reversed warrior. So I'm going to break these down for you so you can see some of the alignment kind of cues and where you want to be in these poses, so that you know a little bit more what it looks like, and then you can start to see what it feels like in your body. So here we go. Warrior 1. So for Warrior 1, you're going to step 1 foot back. We'll start with me. I'm going to do my left so that you can see here. So your left foot's back and it's at 45 degrees. Your right foot is forward. I'm going to take my hands to my hips and start to work my back hip forward, my front hip back. Commonly what you'll see as modifications, our body's going to kind of go into the path of least resistance. A lot of times you'll see the hips start to open. You will also maybe see the back heel start to come up, or this back hip really far back and the body cranked forward, so it's straining the low back. So you want to work that back hip towards forward, that front hip back. And it really works the glute to do that. Another thing that you see commonly is a big arch in the spine to get the opening, because this takes a lot of hip flexor opening. So unarch that spine, draw the navel in, and begin to find depth in that front knee. Ultimately, you're working towards 90 degrees in this front leg. You can see that I don't quite get there. I have some tightness in my hip flexor, so I work my best towards it. And from here, the full pose, many people just lift their arms straight, but the full pose is hands together in prayer above head, and your drishti is up towards your fingers, working your arms towards straight, and you're holding this pose, breathing here. So another thing you see as the arms start to lift is many times the arch comes back in the back because people have trouble keeping those ribs knitted in. So you want to focus on keeping the space between your hips and your ribs nice and close, nice and contracting the core. So when you lift the arms, you have that good alignment, instead of when you lift the arms, arching really deep into the back. You can really injure the low spine there. So this is Warrior 1 with that nice depth. So I'm going to spin around so my body isn't mad at me, and I'm going to show you with the other side, and we're going to just show you a variation of Warrior 1 that you might see commonly in practice. If you are working on this in class, and I should mention your heels are working towards being in line with each other, but if you need a little more space, you can walk that back foot out further, especially my mamas-to-be or women who just gave birth tend to have a lot of trouble getting those feet narrow just from what your body transitioned through. So be gentle with yourself, give yourself a little bit more space. So other option is you can always lift the back heel, and that's a crescent variation. We'll go over it in another video. But finding that depth, pulling that back hip forward, front hip back, knitting up those ribs. So ribs and belly towards one another. You're going to inhale your hands up overhead. Your hands come to touch. That's Warrior 1. Humble Warrior variation is a very common variation you'll see in class. You're going to take your hands behind your back, clasp them together, and from there, if you have the space, you begin to open through the chest. Find depth in that front knee. Inhale, lift your gaze, lift your chest, and then exhale, you fold forward, coming to the inside of your thigh, lifting your hands up overhead into Humble Warrior variation. Breathing here, drawing your navel in. When you're ready to come out, you lift, 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 lift with control, and then you bring your hands to your sacrum, gently release, bring your hands back up overhead. So that is Warrior 1 with Humble Warrior variation. So let's go into Warrior 2. Warrior 2, well actually let me show you really fast Warrior 1 from the front, because I just want you to have a visualization. So my back foot's down at 45 degrees. You'll see my heels are working towards being in line. I'm pulling my back hip forward, drawing my navel in. Hands come up overhead. And that's Warrior 1 from the front, so you can see what my feet look like. Okay, so for Warrior 2, we're going to step the left foot back, keep our right foot forward for this side, and your back foot is parallel to the short edge of your mat. You're going to first start by leveling your hips off. The tendency here is people lift or elevate the back hip and try to bend into their warrior, and then from there they're kind of leaning forward. So we don't want that. We want to level our hips off. It's okay, they're not going to be square to the side. They're kind of towards the front corner of the mat, and that's okay. So from here, what we do is arms lengthen, gazes over the front middle finger, and we find depth into that front knee, working our hips towards level, working our front knee towards 90 degrees. That's our warrior two. Some of the things that you're looking for is your front foot, if you drag it all the way back, would intersect the arch of your back foot. The other thing that you're looking for here in warrior two is a lot of us have the tendency to let that knee drop in. You're going to be really making it susceptible to injuries on the inside of that knee. So pushing through the knife edge of that foot, using your external rotators, finding your depth from there to protect the inside of the knee. You should be able to look down and see your big toe. That is warrior two. So biggest takeaways, level out the hips, working towards 90 in the front knees, trying to open up the front knee by pushing into the knife edge or the outside edge of that foot. So that's warrior two. Then we have warrior three. Warrior three is a balancing pose. So from here, I'll show you some different variations with the arms, but for full warrior three, your hands come up overhead and you begin to hinge, working into a perfect T. Your back heel is flexed, your left hip, or your top hip, your lifted hip is level, so you don't want to be stacking, you want to be level. Draw your navel in, arms are extended, driving through your back heel, firing through your back glute. That is your full warrior three. Some arm variations you'll see are hands to the heart center and hands back into airplane arms by your sides, even taking your hands to blocks or the ground for a supported warrior three. Those are all amazing options. So that is your warrior series. Warrior one, warrior two, warrior three. And I promised you I'd show you reverse warrior, so let's just go over that really quickly. So warrior two is where you'll start for reverse warrior. So I'll get into warrior two on my other side. My gaze is over the front middle finger. From here, you'll flip your front palm, release your back palm to the outside of the back leg, and you'll begin to lift and lengthen. So you're reaching up with that top hand, keeping the depth in the front leg. Many people like to take a half bind here, wrapping the back arm around the waist for the front thigh. And the other thing that I see a lot is a lot of people kind of like crank and just jump into this big rainbow. You want to find length in your side rather than jumping. So find the lift, find the length, find the depth in the front leg. And then just be sure that you're keeping that space between your hips and your ribs nice and small, your core drawn in, and you'll keep your low back safe there. So that is your warrior series.